5 years ago, I quit my job and moved halfway across the country just to chase my dreams. When God told me to move, I only had $3,000 in my bank account, no job lined up, and I had just secured housing like 2 weeks before I moved. Nothing made sense, but I knew that I had to do it. Now I work for a church, I make films, and I'm currently producing my second micro-budget TV show. I'm working with an incredible mentor on my first pilot script, and between me and you, I have kind of a big name signed onto the project right now. Success can look like a lot of different things, but I am currently living out my wildest dreams. But I also wasted a lot of time getting here. I ignored advice, I made excuses, I made poor decisions purely based out of fear. And if I could go back, these are the 5 things that I would tell myself to help get me here faster. When I initially moved to Atlanta, I spent my first 2 to 3 years really trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what I should be doing. I knew that I wanted to try out a lot of different things, creating music, making clothes, ceramics, video production. I wanted to try it all. Part of the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to try everything. I didn't know what I wanted. I was 25, I had just moved. So I spent those first few years here really building up skills and waiting for God to place something on my heart. And it wasn't until I decided to make my own TV show back in 2022 that I knew what I wanted to do, that I knew I found what I was looking for. During that time, I built up my skill set and combined my interests of fantasy, real world stories, and God in the Bible to basically create what I'm doing now. This meant that when a position opened up at a church I was volunteering at for a content creator and video producer, I jumped on it. At a church, you're not going to make 6 figures, but I knew what I was gaining was so much more: experience and skill. I was surrounded by people who knew so much more than me, and I learned from them. But I do want to say one of the more difficult parts of my journey was not comparing myself to my friends and family who are literally around the same age and having a lot more success in their corporate careers. And I constantly struggle with the temptation to go out and get another side hustle or get another job. But the one thing that I didn't want to do was get distracted from what my purpose really is. God will provide all of your needs if you are pursuing Him and what He has for your life. You just have to trust that you will be provided for. And girl, let me tell you, that is the hardest thing to do. Provisions will come as long as I am going for my purpose. Which leads me to number 2, focus on who you want to become. For a long time, I was stuck asking myself, what do I want to do? Rather than asking myself, who do I want to become? Because who you become shapes what you do. I can't expect to live like a filmmaker if I am not thinking and operating like one. You can't expect to become a business owner, a creator, a whatever if you are not thinking and operating like one. Your character and your actions are a reflection of your inner thoughts. Your habits, your decisions, your mindset are all a reflection of who you believe yourself to be. It is so easy to downplay your dreams, to downplay yourself, to not give your passion a title, to keep your goals private out of fear of public failure. And I do that. That's why I don't really post on Instagram. So I get it. We're all afraid of looking foolish, of being embarrassed, especially in front of our friends and family. But I will say, in my early 20s, I started asking myself this question: will I regret not doing it? And the answer is always yes. So I'm not just living for my now, I'm living for my future self. So every decision that you make, every habit that you build is a direct proponent of who you will become and who you will see yourself as in the next 10 years. And life is full of hard decisions. I either put the work in now, or in 10 to 20 years, I look back and regret everything that I did. Number 3, do it yourself. I spent way too much time waiting on a studio, waiting on the right connections, waiting for someone to give me a seat at the table. Yeah, no one's coming to save you. But the moment that I decided to do it myself, everything changed. One of the most valuable skills that I learned is to do it myself. I know how to ideate, I know how to film it, and then I know how to edit. I can take something from an idea and execute it very well. And that is one of my biggest assets. I don't have to wait on a big budget studio to be able to greenlight me. I can greenlight myself. Same thing for you. You don't have to wait for other people's approval for you to follow your dreams. Number 4, don't obsess over likes and followers. This used to be one of my biggest problems because I was so consumed with having the appearance of success and not actually being successful. The internet will have you believing that your value is tied to engagement. It is not. Worrying about what everyone else thinks will hijack your creativity. When you try to emulate what someone else is doing, or you try to become the trend, you lose yourself. You lose your voice. And your voice is what makes you stand out. Some of the most meaningful projects that I've worked on didn't go viral, they didn't rack up numbers, but they mattered. And when you obsess over what others think, about getting the likes, about getting the followers, you've lost sight of what makes you, you. And I constantly have to remind myself not to get caught up in the likes and the subscribers. And that is something that I track almost every single day, just to see, hey, what's working, what's not working. And it's very easy to get so consumed with that. But success will come. Your people will find you. Your content will be shown to the right people, and you will eventually build an audience. Your consistency will be noticed. As long as you continue to create things that you love, your audience and your people will follow. Which brings me to my last piece of advice. Rejection is redirection. I never really understood what this meant until I started seeing a bigger picture. And when you start seeing rejection as just a pivot, everything will change for you. One of the most recent rejections I had is when I went to release my trailer. I was approached by a studio. I was told to put it on hold. I had an entire marketing plan and it was working beautifully. And then when I decided to pick it back up and post my concept trailer, I got a whopping 73 views and I cried. I was pissed. True story. Ask my dad. I was absolutely devastated just because I worked so hard on this trailer. I put so much time, I put so much money into it, and it just seemed like no one cared. And I was like, oh gosh, what did I do? But I ended up going to God and I fasted. And one thing that the Lord put on my heart is that there is nothing of Him in my trailer. God is all in my pitch deck, and that is part of the reason why people fell in love with the pitch deck. But nothing about God was reflected in my actual concept trailer. The one thing that would make it stand out against all the other superhero genre movies and TV shows, it wasn't there. And I even had one producer that I was working with label it as God's Justice League, which is low-key kind of sick. But part of the reason why I didn't add it in the first place is because I was really nervous that no one would really resonate with it. So I ended up posting a clip of my YouTube video, and it turns out that people really resonated with the idea, which is awesome. And it was something that I just didn't expect. And so I'm going into this and I'm so much more excited about it just because this is my true heart. Like, this is where my heart is with it. Like, not just creating the next Marvel, yada, 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 but creating a world where God actually gives superpowers to people. But it was this rejection that led me to pivot and do something completely different. And it's just something that I'm so proud of, and I'm so grateful for the redirection because it's something that I'm much more interested in than just creating a superpowered universe. So just because it doesn't unfold how you think that it should be, doesn't mean that it wasn't a part of the process. God's timing is different than ours. And when you start looking at rejection as a setback for a setup for something better, it changes your mindset. Rejection doesn't mean to stop. It just means to pivot. So if you are in the middle of chasing your dreams right now, I hope that this video saves you time, energy, and heartache. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to feel fear. You are going to feel embarrassed, but it is all worth it. Keep showing up, keep having the faith, and you will get there. Trust me, it's all worth it.